This district really encompasses a wide breadth of residents who are here. We have lots of seniors who have lived here for a while, but who have also recently retired to the area. But we also have lots of young couples who are teachers in schools, who are firefighters and police, who are nurses at BB Hospital, and very active and involved in the service industry. So we have a very strong base in that we have a daughter at a local public school with young families. And those young families were the ones that approached me early on in the process and said, Ernie, do you know that there's a new state Senate seat opening up in our area? You would be a wonderful candidate for that. I didn't have a governor or a senator tapping me on the shoulder telling me to run for office. It was my friends, my neighbors, people in my local civic association, our church. And to have that groundswell of support from the grassroots level at the beginning was really meaningful to me.
The quality that I bring to the table is coalition building, is experience in the community, understanding the needs of the business community, understanding the needs of the aging population by being engaged in the BB Advisory Board, understanding what are the needs of the kids, understanding how the environmental issues that are important to this area, and having just a deep understanding of what issues are really important here. Labor statistics are very clear. In the next 5 to 7 years, there will be 3,000 jobs in healthcare services alone in Sussex County. I've laid out a very clear plan on my website that breaks that down, how we start attracting and training senior medical professionals. Looking at regulatory issues that are prohibiting folks from moving in from out of state since we don't have a medical school. Looking at potentially creating a ban within the tax code, just as we did for the banks and financial services back in the 70s, to incentivize business owners to continue to grow, or give those who want to start a business to have the opportunity to start a business locally or come down from upstate, downstate, and have that as well. And then, of course, we need to look at what are some of the ways that we can incentivize new doctors coming out of medical school. On the support services side, those 3,000 jobs need to be fully supported. We need to make sure that Del Tech has the appropriate facilities and infrastructure in order to train and educate people that are going to go into those jobs. We need to make sure that those that are out of work know that we have training and education opportunities for them to be retrained to go into those job opportunities. To make sure the curriculum is addressing it at the Cave School District so that when kids come out of school, they know that the opportunity is there, and then when those might want to go off to college and come back, they can do so and they know their job opportunity is right here in front of them.
Coastal tourism is going to be important, leveraging the resources to make sure that this continues to be an attractive place for people to visit. Agriculture is something that's extremely important. What can I be doing as a state senator to make sure that we're leveraging those resources for our farmers and making sure that regulations are minimized and the impact on them to be able to do their jobs is really strong? I think that's something that's important. But our growing medical industry is also something that's a unique driver, and actually that's something that's extremely important as well. With our rising senior population, I think that's something that all of us are really focused on. What ways can we make sure that this medical industry is being supported, whether through making sure that we're bringing doctors into the area, or we're just also growing the knowledge base that we currently have with our young people and making sure that they're going into professions in the healthcare area and staying here locally to work. Being able to be a strong convener and bring the different groups together, whether it's the Delaware Department of Transportation, whether it's our local county officials, and also our municipal leaders. What I love about this district is the fact that we have wonderful towns and municipalities. Lewis, Milton, Rehoboth, Dewey, they have their own elected officials. Those are conversations that I'm looking forward to continuing to have with those officials to make sure that we're doing all that we can to leverage our state resources, that we're having a positive impact on these local municipalities in this area. Historically, our county officials have always kind of handled land use issues. The issue of concurrency is something that's important in making sure that with the growth that we have in the area, whether it's roads or developments or neighborhoods, that we also have the infrastructure in place. As long as we're all on the same page, which right now I don't think that we're quite there, but we need to be. And I'm looking forward to being that state senator that gets us all on the same page.
I think there's 3 things to consider. The first is, do we have a public transportation system that is getting people off the road and using a public transportation system? I proposed implementing a public-private partnership, much like we see at the ferry over in Lewis, and looking at how local companies can help provide more services at a different level to increase the number of opportunities for people to ride buses every single day. Second, we need to look at enforcement issues on Route 1 to make sure that people are no longer violating the law, crossing where they shouldn't be crossing. Third, we need to also look at how we can get people particularly around the outlets. We're seeing a lot of the accidents, a lot of the deaths and that sort of thing around that area. How can we get people across without interrupting traffic flow on Route 1? One is potentially going through an overpass. I know that discussion was had many, many years ago, but I'm not sure that's been had recently. We need to find a way to keep people from crossing over. The increase in traffic as we grow over the next 10 years, we have to start thinking more forward about how we're going to get people from one area to the other. We can address the Route 1 concerns, but how do we start addressing how people can get from here down to Salisbury, or how people can get from here over to Seaford or to Bridgeville, or if they want to move west? We have to have a conversation about what it's going to take to potentially build an east-west highway. We're seeing in other counties, Kent County and Newcastle County, that they do a shared cost with the developers, with the state, with the property people who are buying those properties. We need to have those kinds of conversations right now. Based on our growth, got to build 4 new schools in this area. The high school's just about at capacity. We're adding trailers at all the other schools. Talk about the transportation costs and impact on the environment and those kinds of things. This campaign is not about my opponents and I. This campaign is about who has the best ideas, who has a plan that understands the ideas in this district, who can identify a plan to implement growth in the infrastructure, who can talk about good, solid, smart growth policies, who has transportation services and a plan to address that, but also addressing our positions on policy. There are some clear differences. We talk about support for Planned Parenthood and the fact the state does provide some funding to that. I tell you that's important to the families and to the women and children of the state of Delaware. My opponent has publicly stated that he would oppose state funding for that. That's significant in my opinion. We talk about the expansion of Medicaid because of the Affordable Care Act. And we heard last night, I think 121% increase in Medicaid services. We need to look forward how we can do that, yet accommodating the cost without seeing significant growth. We can talk about the fact that I do not support school vouchers. My opponent has publicly stated that he does in fact support school vouchers. So there are some clear differences in policy in how we can address those going forward.
Having an understanding of our local issues, as someone who has grown up in Delaware, as someone who has lived here for over 30 years, as someone who was married in this district and is raising my children in this district, having kind of footprints in all these various areas, whether it's having a daughter in a local public school and being active and involved in education issues, working here in this district. I mean, I think that's something that's extremely important. Both my wife and I are very active in the work that we do. She also works for the university in the College of Marine Studies. So again, I think all of those two things obviously are extremely important, but understanding our local issues is something that's key. And I think by being here, by living here, and by working here, I think that I have a very good, strong understanding of the issues that I think our families are facing with parents that are here in the area, the issues that they're facing as well as they're growing older. So again, really having a good understanding of local issues and focusing in on those local issues is something that I think resonates with people. I'm really proud of the fact that I live in a state where we have citizen legislators. About 70% of the members of the Delaware State General Assembly have other careers, and they bring the knowledge and the experiences that they have from those careers to their daily work in the legislature. Again, as someone who's grown up here, I remember my state senators growing up in Delaware all having very meaningful careers, either as DuPonters or as educators, and really having their feet on the ground and firmly planted in what the needs were in the districts, but taking those experiences and knowledge that they had from their professional careers to their seats representing the people and their constituents. I'm looking forward to following in that mold.
We're very fortunate in the state of Delaware to have a legislator that does allow and encourage support and involvement from the community, whether you're a small business owner or a teacher or a banker, a lawyer, whatever that you may do. So I believe that my given business practice, that I can manage the two and still effectively be a state senator for the entire 6th district, to make sure that we're focused on that quality of life, to building legislative policies and to working within the community to do that.